that word a lot because I don't like it. There's a few words I don't like, and religion is one of them because it is so subjective. Pride is another word I use very rarely. It has its place, I believe, at times, but I believe a good word to supplant pride is gladness. So if you're proud of your children, I am. I'm glad. I'm just so happy. I'm just, thankful, grateful to God. So pride really is a word that we don't really need. I'm proud of God. I'm proud of the famous one for being such a good God. Is the best way I can use pride. I'm just, it's something that we should all be very proud to know is that the Almighty, true God, the creator and owner, the rightful owner of the universe, is wholly good. And that's with a W, but also with an H. That his will for us is what is reasonable and rational and logical and makes sense. That we be happy. And we have the ability to understand the fundamentals of what it takes to be happy. And on that list of facets, of ingredients, of components to being happy, because happy is a broad term, is wide-reaching. That in order to have this thing, this neat little ball we call true happiness, we need these ingredients. So on top of that list is freedom. So first we need to just really go through the aspects of freedom and scrutinize the details of that. And what it means is being free is to be totally free in the truest, absolute, ultimate sense of the word, the complete sense. We cannot have anything that binds us. Okay? So anything that binds us and forces us and coerces us, mandates us, by laws invented by men, we must wean ourselves off. We must get away from that in order to be free. We've got to, for one thing, I guess, if man is concerned, well, you're just not able. We need to have, these rules because the heart of man is evil and he'll do evil things. And we've got all these issues in society. We can't have drunk drivers. We can't have this. We can't have that. And to a large extent, I totally understand, and that's why I capitulate. Okay, I comply to the laws of men. This is where in the book of Romans 8, I believe it is, the one that so many people object to. And I understand why they object to it, because, it says that we should, that the law enforcement, the authorities don't bear the sword for no reason. I mean, these are like, compared to in the Bible, the avengers of God, really. That's what the law enforcement cops are. So all the law enforcement and cops that put God first, yes, they are those servants of God. You understand? But those that don't. And so there is those, I guess, bad cops sometimes that, think they own themselves, let's say. Okay? Because if you don't put God first in your life, then by default, you're going to have an attitude where you think you own yourself. So the point is that we've got laws for a reason. We all understand that. So I'm not sitting here saying, let's all just, all those in favor of what's the term, of seceding from the system, all you good anarchists and everything, and let's just ignore the laws of men and let's just abandon it. Let's not even play their game. Let's not use dollars anymore. All you people like myself, if anybody objects to the Federal Reserve note, anybody that's listened to me in videos, knows that, I can't stand it. I hate having to use the Federal Reserve notes as a measurement. This is the prevailing currency. This is the predominant. And that's it. This is the one that we all use. This is the muddied and bloodied waters of the Federal Reserve note. This, the devilish currency of the ages. This is his ambrosia. It is the dollar, and we're in it deep. And I've got nothing nice to say about the dollar, but the point is that it's not so easy to just abandon all the rules of man all at once. But I'm saying that we need to wean ourselves off it. We just have to understand how fundamentally the scales have been drawn over our eyes, this thick veil of darkness, how muddied and bloodied and opaque the waters that we're forced to swim in are. And so we've got to be patient and with our tongue particularly, because like Jesus said, it's not what goes in our mouths that defiles, it's what comes out. So you see me being apologetic and asking for forgiveness, or I am now, for the things I say that are unbecoming. In a nutshell, they're unbecoming. And I don't want to identify with those things. I don't want to be an arrogant piece of crap, a-hole. That about says it all. So please forgive me, anybody I've ever offended. I don't mean to do that. That is to no avail. There's no profit. There's no advancement. There's no progress in doing that. Yes, excoriate. Yes, so at times I get very angry, and I don't mean to direct it at an individual or even a living being, but just the idea, the gall, the nerve of like that satanic spirit that overcomes people. It says, look, I'm going to challenge good. I'm going to challenge God. I'm going to challenge the righteous and decent. And that's wrong. So I just don't want to be a self-righteous posse. Okay, that's it. And I recommend nobody else be that. All glory to God for anything good that we ever achieve in our lives. Okay, we have to understand that God gave us life. He gave us the brain and the ability, the wherewithal to do anything and accomplish anything that we may or may not do. I mean, just to be a good, decent human being, to me, is success. I mean, the way the secular world defines success and the way God defines success are widely, vastly different things. So if you just are a nice human being, and you have enough courage to say, look, I object to evil, I object to injustice, and I'm going to tell you so. That's enough. We don't have to call names. We don't have to rant and rave and get all angry at people, although Jesus did. And there is a time and a place when he threw over the money changers' table, I would cite. And I get that same attitude. And maybe it is a bit of a show, a bit of a display that Jesus said, I've just got to show these people that this is intolerable. And I'm doing them the best favor of all, of making sure they understand, look, God is angry. He's furious. He won't tolerate this idea that money, that you're going to trick humanity in perpetuity. This is not going to prevail in the land. God's will is going to be done. And when Jesus did that, that's what he meant. And that's kind of like where I'm coming from. It's just we've got to be honest. We've got to just say, look, fundamentally, this system's got to change. Alex Jones had another guest on recently, this Stefan Molyneux, another man I respect and admire immensely. Another man like Paul Joseph Watson, I certainly don't want to have battle of wits with, but I just love these people so much. I mean, I have to give myself a break. I mean, these people, if they ever watch me in video, they're going to say, look, this guy's got issues, and they're going to be right. And, I don't want to have issues, but I do have issues. I'm just human. And I'm nobody to judge anybody. And this fail-safe, this default that God put us, we've heard this term, well, the ball's in your court. Well, that's what it's like with God. I mean, everything lands up, all the muck and mire that we put out there, all the fingers we point, all the condemnation we spew out, judgment call, unbecoming rhetoric toward other people, even our enemies, okay? That's unnecessary, okay? Jesus didn't attack anybody personally when he threw over the money changers' tables, right? He just called them all a broods of vipers. I mean, this is what they were. These people are hypocrites. They're defiling and doing this in a house of worship that was set aside, that was built to honor the true God. Okay, that's what the synagogues were, right? So this is where Jesus taught. This is where this whole thing took place. They were in there trying to swindle people, trying to dupe people, trying to take people, trying to trick people. That's what it's all about. It's just saying, hey, I got this great idea, and look, yeah, you can learn how to be one of me too, and go out there and do nothing, sit on your butt all day and tell the people they ought to serve you, and this is why, and because you needed to borrow money, and I'm the money changer. I change your hard-earned bits of gold or silver into profit, so you can do it too. So they invite everybody on board, and be like us. They're filled with joy of the spirit of Satan, the spirit of the ambrosia of the gods of this world, that spirit of just, it's sick. I mean, I don't know. It's still alive and well today. We all know the allure, the attraction that we have, it's just very powerful, this force, this money, this, this concentrated wealth, money, my precious, and and we all turn into little beasts and demons. And we've got to admit it, man. We can get off the junk. This is one thing I find peculiar about this Bitcoin, is that I kind of get it. In principle, I get how maybe there isn't a bubble. I don't know. I'm not going to say there is or isn't. I don't know enough about it. Guys like Max Kaiser, I mean, I don't know if he even knows, really. But he's thinking not, because all this big money is being dumped into it. And maybe it is like a very, Keynesian kind of thing. Like I've talked about putting a bowl of money in the center of town and let's just call the bluff on this game that's been foisted on us called money. And just look, it's all there. You need money for something? Oh, go to the bowl and get it. Just make sure that when you're done with it, you tell the person you give it to, put it back in the bowl. You understand? So it's always there. So they take what they need and they put back the rest. So perhaps Bitcoin, I don't know what I think that we're living in the last days, and that's not foreboding. It may be a bit ominous, but it portends a time when, good is going to call evil out, and God's losing his cool. The cup of his fury, his indignation is overflowing. And he's going to put his foot down, and that time is coming. I can feel it with every fiber of my being. And so that's why I say I'm the watchman on the tower, like, we should all be. All those profess to believe in Jesus, believe in the God of the Bible. We should all get out there and warn people as sternly as we can about stuff. And, it's important, like I was talking about the Bible before, from the beginning to the end, it's very important to have all the information in there. And what's very particularly important to me in explaining to people that, about this God that I claim is this all-loving God with agape love, is unconditional love, and all this great power that he has, and everything makes sense, and he's reasonable, and he's never mean, he's always nice. It's so important to understand the beginning and what happened, what went wrong. You understand? We're screwed up. This is the fall of man, the original sin, when we ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And we shouldn't even know that we're naked, for example. It's such a huge departure from the way things could have been. Nothing bad is supposed to happen. We're never supposed to die, okay? Can you imagine how different that is? It's like 180 degrees different from how it is. Money, we're not going to have money any more than any other creatures have money, or feel the need for money. Everything is going to be dramatically, profoundly different. And so it's important to explain to people that, look, this is a good and loving, true God that is all powerful, but here's the caveat. Here's what happened. Here's what went wrong. Here's the explanation as to why we've got natural disasters and miserable insects, why we have punishing heat and bitter cold. By the way, I abhor the cold. I just hate it. I mean, if anything makes me want to die, it is the freezing cold. I hate it. And the idea that we're letting one human being stay out in the cold is just, it makes me insane. Okay, this is what gets my goat. Okay, when I go nuts and I rant and rave, it's all about this. People saying I'm a Christian, but they're going to give any excuse. There is no excuse at all. No valid excuse, no invalid excuse. There is no excuses for allowing human beings to die out in the cold. Homeless people, desperately poor people are not criminals. Get that through your head. They'd be in prison costing you $50,000 a year. Costing me $50,000 a year if they were. Okay? So, you could think what you want about my liberal views, and I call myself a leftist. Hell, I don't even know what the hell a leftist is. Alex Jones calls himself a classic liberal. Maybe that's what I mean. I don't know. These words have no meaning anymore. I mean, did they ever? I mean, really, because they're just words that are created to divide. Oh, you're on the left, you're on the right. Oh, like you're a different team or something. When Americans, I mean, if we're going to teach the rest of the world how to get along and, and lift each other up, then we're going to have to set an example here in America. And we're going to have to be united and come together and say, screw that crap, that left-right nonsense. This was the big hook when I started watching the Alex Jones show. Was shatter the left-right paradigm was their motto. His motto. I mean, This is how he launched the show, on that premise, and he touches on it still. But I hear too much of that. People bandying it about, these leftists and the left wing and these lefties and libtards and liberals, and as if liberal is a bad thing. I mean, Thomas Jefferson liberal, classic liberal, Alex Jones liberal, Chris Credit liberal. I mean, no. I mean, I'm also a fiscal conservative. I mean, for what it's worth. I mean, if we're going to get into economics, and that's what we're talking about here with, this idea of giving. Well, I may not be a particularly giving person. I mean, I do believe in tithing. I do believe in chapter 3 of Malachi. So I've got a powerful urge to not rob God. It's as simple as that. To do what he says. Look, this is for your good. When he gave us the 10 commandments, and Jesus gave us the new 2 commandments that summed up all the 10. If we just follow those 2, all the others